My childhood therapist convinced me I was the problem, not my abusive parents, so I ruined her career, and I'm still haunting her 2 decades later. A few weeks ago, this woman in her 40s who I've never seen before showed up at my door, and when she told me why she was here, I seriously considered ending myself. You see, when I was a little kid, I had this therapist named Linda who had peculiar ideas about child psychology, to say the least. I was 10 years old when my mother first dragged me to her home office, insisting I needed help for my behavioral problems. My behavioral problems? I had told my dad that mom was drinking during the day. Linda wasn't even a real therapist. She was my mother's college roommate who read some self-help books and decided she could fix kids. My dad trusted my mom completely, and when mom said her therapist friend could help me for free, he thought we were lucky. I remember that first session, Linda telling me that good children don't make up stories about their mothers, and that my lying problem was hurting our family. Session after session, twice a week, Linda would work on me. She'd have me write lines. I am a liar. I hurt my family. I must learn to be grateful. She'd tie me holding stress positions while repeating affirmations about being a better daughter. If I cried, that was manipulation. If I stayed silent, that was defiance. My grades started slipping. I stopped eating. I'd scratch at my arms until they bled. But Linda explained to my parents that this was all part of my resistance to healing and that they needed to be firmer with me. She gave them a behavior chart where they'd mark every time I acted out, which included things like not finishing dinner, taking too long in the bathroom, or looking sad. Too many marks meant extra sessions. The sessions got worse. Linda introduced therapeutic spanking for when I was emotionally constipated. She'd have my mother do it while she watched and coached. My dad started getting uncomfortable, but mom would cry and say he wasn't supporting her efforts to help me. Linda backed her up, saying dad was enabling my dysfunction. Then came the day I broke. It was a Wednesday, and I couldn't stop shaking in class. My teacher, Mrs. Patterson, kept me after class and asked if everything was okay at home. I just stared at her. I wanted to tell her everything, but Linda had spent months explaining how teachers were mandated reporters who would tear our family apart if I said the wrong thing. But Mrs. Patterson didn't let it go. She brought in the school counselor, Ms. Rodriguez, who sat with me for an hour. She didn't push. She just talked about feelings and coping skills, and mentioned that sometimes adults don't always know what's best, even when they mean well. Something about the way she said it made me burst into tears. I told her about Linda, about the sessions, about the punishments, about how I wasn't allowed to tell anyone because it would prove I was manipulative. Ms. Rodriguez's face went very still. She asked me to wait while she made some phone calls. By the end of the day, Child Protective Services was at our house. The investigation was brutal. Linda, it turned out, had been doing this to several children, calling herself a family coach and child behavior specialist. She had no license, no training, just a weekend certificate from some online course. My mother screamed that I was destroying our family, just like Linda had warned. My father looked like someone had pulled the floor out from under him. The case was messy. Linda was charged with practicing without a license and child endangerment. My mother was required to attend actual therapy. My parents' marriage didn't survive. Dad couldn't forgive himself for not seeing it, and mom couldn't forgive me for telling. I spent the rest of my childhood bouncing between their houses, going to real therapy, trying to undo the damage. Fast forward 18 years. I'm 28 years old, and I had mostly healed from all the trauma I went through as a kid, or at least I thought I did, until some woman knocked on my door. I opened up, and she had a folder in her hand and a nervous expression. She said she was looking for me specifically. "Are you the daughter of mom's name?" My stomach dropped. I slowly nodded, and that's when she gave me a piece of news that made me fully realize how the past never really dies. She told me Linda was suing me. I stared at her, certain I'd misheard, but no. Linda was suing me for defamation, loss of income, and emotional distress. Apparently, after serving minimal jail time, she'd rebuilt her practice in another state. But recently, someone had found the old court records and posted them in a parenting group where she was advertising. Her new business had collapsed, and somehow, her lawyer had convinced her that since I was the child whose testimony started it all, I was responsible for her ongoing damages. The woman handed me the papers, $500,000 in damages, for ruining the career she should never have had, for the false accusations that were thoroughly proven in court, for the malicious pursuit that I initiated when I was 10 years old and breaking down in front of a mandated reporter. I just stared at the woman and told her this had to be a joke. She gave me a pitying look and said she was just the process server, but she added something that made my blood run cold. She's also requesting a gag order, says you've been spreading lies about her for years. I couldn't finish telling the full story here. It is on my channel and linked below.